What's up people, we are back with more Fault Milestone 1. In a previous video, Zid Zephitz, in his dying last moments, he managed to create, or to finish, I believe it's entirely finished according to him, the thing that we know as Sara, which is basically just a, I call it a human automaton because I personally felt that it had certain personality traits that the old rune had as well. How exactly Sid managed to do that, have no freaking clue, but despite the fact that it also appearance-like just looks like rune, it definitely had some of these, I felt, within at least the first few minutes as well, because it called Rudo brother without actually knowing anything. So I definitely think that it has some personality traits of the real rune that it supposedly did. So yeah, I don't know exactly what this Sara still is, but I mean it would make sense, right? Because she also introduced herself as Rune when she was when she first met Selphine and Ritona. So I feel like somewhere in this automaton's consciousness, maybe it's programmed to, or it's just actually there's some part of Rune in there somehow. Not sure how, but I guess more questions, hopefully more answers will be given. But yeah, currently Albus is sort of spectating, keeping an eye on Sara while she's working in the mana mine. So let's continue. Whoa, are those all first generators automatons for the sister project? There are so many, Mr. Folster. The grand majority of the workers here, or sisters as you may refer to them, are automatons related to the project. Over 90% in fact. Good morning everyone! Good morning! It's a pleasure to meet your acquaintance. Wow. So rude. Sisters A, B, and C just completely ignore her. These sisters do not issue verbal responses. Speech was not seen as an integral part of their line of work during the conception stage. I see. But that does seem awful lonely, being the only one who can speak. Just consider yourself you're the leader of them. You speak for all of them. Do you feel that lacking conversational partners is quite lonesome? Mr. Folster, is lonely how you truly feel? Well, let's see. Why did I think it felt lonely? I'm not certain how it's supposed to feel, but the first thought that came to mind was the word loneliness. Curious indeed. Sara did its due diligence that day. It worked far more efficiently than I had previously imagined, but compared to the first generation sisters, which were all optimized for labor and mana dowsing, there was absolutely no contest. Clearly, Sara had not been conceived for the purpose of laboring away in the mana mine. By that point in time, despite Sara's unusual personality traits, we determined that it was not optimized to do any one task more efficiently than other sisters. Sara's memory capacity is increasing day by day. All sisters were implemented with a memory limit, but Sara seems limitless. I'm curious to know what sort of memory capacitor Sid integrated. Shall we dismantle it once in order to determine what makes it tick? I would say that dismantlement is the most practical method for satiating your curiosity, Albus. I'd rather not. Even if we did dismantle Sara, I wouldn't be able to piece it back together. That, Rudo, is the general consensus of the Lab 9's staff. In addition, the board of directors would not approve of its immediate dismantlement, not while they're seeking to fill the financial gap your father left. Excuse me. Yes, Sara? I don't think my real name is Sara. Come again? I'm not sure how to describe this, but I remember that a long time ago, A long time ago, I was named Rune. Oh god. Yes. My name used to be Rune. Look at the face of Rudo. What else do you remember? And you're my big brother, Rudo. Sara, you must be mistaken. I have no recollection of having a little sister with that name. Do you believe that I would ever forget my own sister's name? Everything that you think you know, your memories, your name, all of it, is nothing but a veil. A veil draped upon you by your creator, Zid Sevets. Its act of final lunacy, if you will. Or final act of lunacy. Nevertheless, Sara, I have a command that I want you to abide by. Never utter that name, ever again. Man, understood. Rudo is ice cold. Days, weeks, and months passed after the startling revelation, and although very little changed for Sara's probation, Rudo's demeanor had undergone a subtle transformation. But ultimately, the question that had continuously tortured my mind was the purpose. Why did Sid attempt to resurrect his long-deceased daughter in the form of an automaton? Would having a vivid reminder of her existence have helped assuage him of lifelong guilt? If that was the intent, then why did he not also reconstruct her persona down to the very last detail? Why didn't Sid program her to give her name as Rune? Why didn't he integrate every single one of her mannerisms? Your proposal serves little purpose, Kirky. That is not true, Chief Director. Sid, your father had created Sara to serve and protect the Sisters of Cadius Abbey, and of this I am certain. Just days ago, I brought Sara to that very abbey and introduced it to the abbot who declined your father's offer. He couldn't even tell that Sara was an automaton until after the fact. And what purpose did that action serve? Only to reinforce their xenophobia, when they're already given their final word in the matter. I must share a similar disdain to the abbots. Nobody would be foolish enough to be so trusting of a soulless machine, especially one that looks so deceptively lifelike. I still do not feel comfortable having this thing around us. There's no telling what processes are running in the back of its head, and you can never tell when it's around. I wholeheartedly agree with you, Director Graukles. Although the directors here, particularly Lab 9's staff, feel that Sara's presumed emotional output are both unique and unorthodox as a mana-dowsing automaton, what purpose does its exhibition of emotion ultimately serve, in terms of being an essential asset for the company? If any of you could provide an example of how these traits would help migrate the losses that were suffered from financing this project, I would love to hear it. An example? The Abbey has issued an edict on the matter and is unlikely to rescind it. If Sara cannot be deployed to assist the Abbey sisters, then there's little use left for it. And if we were to continue forcing our splintered support for Sara's existence on them, we would be sowing discord between ourselves and our greatest ally for the Zephith's Medica group. If we deploy Sara to a hospital, the Abbey will voice their displeasure. If we force Sara to the Abbey, or deploy, we will be burning a vital bridge. In essence, any proposals for further expansion of the Sisters Project, for deployment to healthcare facilities at least, are no longer under consideration. Why are you so desperate to discredit your father's final work? Think about it, Rudo. Sara is the only automaton in the entire outer pole that possesses any semblance to emotional output. If Sid was capable of creating something so revolutionary in his final days of life, he could have been onto something here. It could have been even bigger than his initial ambition of proliferating the outer pole with sustainable alternative energy. And what's more, Sara's memory capacity is growing day by day, it can process new information and even exhibit emotions as well, correct? Sara's existence alone has changed everything we know pertaining to human interaction with self-aware artificial intelligence. While it may be infeasible at this point to consider further expansion of the system project, that does not mean that we should disregard Sid's final masterpiece. I share my... what was this guy's voice? I remember it was something like, I share my colleague's sentiment. At the very least, I'm opposed to Sara's immediate dismantlement. Why does this particular discourse sound so familiar? Director Folster, what is your opinion on this matter? My opinion? My opinion is the exact same as yours, Nietzsche. While I'd love to see every component that makes Sara run, I would first like to determine what Sid's motivation were when he created this automaton. The more time I spend with Sara, the more I begin feeling that Sid wasn't entirely mad. He had a plan for Sara, and I will uncover what that is. So, to put it explicitly, you're also against Sara's immediate dismantlement? Very well. We shall resume Sara's supervised probationary period. This meeting is adjourned. Rudo's not happy about that. Excuse me, Mr. Folster. Sara? What are you doing out at this hour? Have you completed your task for today? Just a short while ago, actually. I see now. So your time is your own now. May I have a moment to speak with you? Of course you may, but why are you being so overly formal? Well, I'm so very lost and puzzled, Mr. Folster. I have no idea what it is that I am. What am I, Mr. Folster? I would very much like to know, myself. Am I, on the inside, at least, really... Speak your mind, Sara. Rudo will never know about our conversation tonight. You have my word. Well, I was created roughly around 2 years ago, or so, correct? I'd have to assume so. But that doesn't make any sense. If I were created 2 years ago, why do I remember things from my childhood? It's just not possible. It shouldn't be possible. These things can't be my memories. But that little girl looks just like me. Mr. Folster, just who? No, what am I? Am I truly just an automaton created for the purpose of subpar performance and mana dowsing? If not, then what is my purpose for my creation? Why do I have these memories? That shouldn't be mine. I do not know the reasoning behind your creation. Neither do I know the significance behind your possession of memories that you claim are not yours. The only person who had the answers to those questions has passed away. Sid Cephas was my creator, correct? Correct. She's gonna call it father. Was Sid Cephas an integral part of your life, Mr. Folster? Yes. We were best friends since childhood. We grew up in the same slum, as close as real brothers. Thus, does Mr. Rudo take issue with the fact that I even have these memories? Yes, he does. It's not your fault, but to Rudo, those memories are a reminder of a very stressful childhood he had. Sara, if you'd be receptive to what I have to say, I'd like to advise you with a word of caution for your sake. Certainly. Do not, under any circumstance, cause any trouble. Period. Trouble? Yes, Sara. Trouble. In every sense of the word. Rudo, he wants an excuse to dismantle and destroy you, and any one offense, be it trivial or not, will suffice for him. Obey all the orders given to you. Under no circumstance are you to deviate from those orders. Do not give Ruto any reason to justify your disposal. Are my memories the cause of Ruto's determination to dispose of me? They are. Sara, look at me. I want you to listen carefully. If you ever, and I mean ever, commit an error of egregious, that's what it is, an error egregious enough to warrant Ruto's attention, you may as well consider your fate sealed. Should that moment and time ever arise, I want you to keep that whatever course of action you consider, it needn't always be the easiest decision to make. Course of action? Decision? Yes, because you are capable of making an assessment based on situational awareness before formulating a conclusion and an appropriate course of action. Whether that conclusion leads to your demise is entirely up to you. My own conclusion? I beg your pardon, but am I not considered property exclusive to Sephit's enterprise? If I am property in every aspect of the word, then what right do I have to form and act on my own conclusions? If only you didn't let that barrier of ownership stand between you and your potential. Ultimately, should the time to act ever arise, your fate will be in your own hands. A year passed following our conversation that evening. Over the course of the year, against all odds, Laboratory 9 succeeded in convincing the board of directors to fund the creation of 3 more prototypes based off of the intelligence we had on Sara. But of course, none of them could ever compare to Sid's final creation. They neither moved nor talked like Sara. They were dolls without a shred of conscience and emotional output. We were at an utter loss. This perplexing situation continued well into the year, without any progress. Around 1 month ago, a clear divide amongst the board of directors became visibly evident as the directors separated themselves into 2 factions. One was supportive of retaining the status quo, which involved the continued observation and probationary period for Sara. The other was entirely against the idea and sought its immediate dismantlement and disposal. However, over the course of the month, many pro-observatory members had a change of heart and joined the ranks of the opposition in droves. The likelihood of Sara's death was becoming more of a reality by the day. Regardless of the events taking place in the boardroom, Sara continued to impress me with its capacity for learning as it demonstrated rapid acquisition of completely new tasks. In addition, it developed and standardized processes for several daily tasks, from the work shift at the mana mine to the necessary upkeep of its residents. Its self-developed processes emphasized efficiency and speed, allowing it to, against all odds, surpass even that of the other sisters solely optimized for mana dowsing. Sara's ever-evolving productivity was a constant reminder of the days long past when Rune assisted us in Laboratory 9. However, with its support swiftly dwindling within the board of directors, who had begun to fear Sara's proven and prodigious talents, the specter of disposal arose once more. The one who personally spearheaded the latest motion to dismantle Sara was none other than Ruto. Ruto! Is it true? Did you perform a memory wipe on Sara? It is true, but it was an unsuccessful endeavor. The course in Sara's cranial cavity requires administrative privileges, which I apparently do not have. Vathel, Nietzsche, and Kirki all managed to pass by first few safeguards, but could not penetrate through the numerous encryptions remaining. I don't care about the process. Why did you try to wipe her memory? Why are you trying to destroy all the progress, all of the intelligence Sara has gained to date? You know exactly why it needs to be done, Albus. I think it's time you open your eyes and acknowledge the truth. My father, through whatever methods he destroyed before killing himself, somehow successfully integrated all of Rune's past memories into Sara. Do you think that I failed to take notice of the speed of Sara's learning acquisition, efficiency, and daily productivity? All of Sara's traits are completely identical to Rune's. How does that even relate back to the topic at hand, Rudo? Must I spell the obvious out for you, Albus? I suppose I must. If my father did integrate Rune's memories into Sara, who can say if Rune's destructive tendencies won't one day take over? Would you have me follow in your steps, Albus? Would you have me disregard the potential for danger? Rudo. Oh god. Jerky, tell me what the reality of the situation is. Are we any closer in this process, or are we even further? I apologize, Chief Director, but in all honesty, we are neither closer nor further. Theoretically, all of our methods should be working. You there. Yes, you. What is your name? My name is Sara. It was registered verbally by Rudo Zephyds. I don't know why this isn't working. The method of reaching beyond the first few safeguards should also apply to remaining levels as well. Chief Director, given our findings, we can conclude that overriding Sara's core requires administrative privileges that we do not possess. Only Sid's administrative privileges can bypass the safeguards leading into the crucial cortical structures. Have you attempted to overload the safeguards with colored mana? Of course not. Introducing foreign substances into Sara's cranial space could have adverse and permanent effects. It's not a matter of possibility, Kirky. It will have adverse and permanent effects. Sara will essentially become a vegetable, a potato. This would completely destroy each and every single one of Sara's functions. Rudo's like, okay, let's do it. Nevertheless, I'm curious why Sid made it so that only he could ever access the cortical structures. If they expose Sara to colored mana, like in a really high doses, I mean, I guess because it's going right into her head, her cranial space, so I guess that it might have permanent damages and stuff, but considering that is how Sid Zephyds basically committed suicide, right? With Rune right in that same very laboratory which he sealed and then filled with colored mana. But nothing actually happened to Sara itself. Even though she was in the same room that was filled with colored mana as well. But nothing actually happened to her. Or maybe it did. Which is why it was considered a blank slate at the beginning. But somewhere deep in there, perhaps behind this part of the cortical structures that they cannot access right now, there's just this basis of all of Rune's memories and everything and all of that. So you can reboot it or reset it with colored mana, but after a while it just keeps coming back up like it has from the very beginning since they found Sara up until now. If hopefully that makes any sense. It's almost as if he didn't want anyone to change a single thing about this particular automaton. I couldn't have said it better myself. Is there anything I can do for you? Unless you can overwrite every single one of your memories immediately, then no, there is nothing you can do for me. Go and resume your duties. Leave us. Aww, poor Sara. Like, it's not even her fault, you know? Sara, what's the matter? Why are you out of your residence so late? I mean, you can just understand it from both purposes, from both sides, right? Like, obviously Rudo doesn't want to be reminded and doesn't want another quote-unquote destructive creature like Rune around ever again, because he had to live through that his entire childhood, basically. and it was a living nightmare for him. So who wants to live through that twice in his entire life, especially after thinking it was over and then it comes back, popping back up? But then that raises the question again as to why Sid actually created quote-unquote human automaton that is almost, if not exactly, like Rune. So yeah, maybe he just really, screw you, son. If you're not dying with me, I'm gonna make your life a living hell on earth. Something like that. I mean, that could also be a possibility, but it seems a strange reason for a person of his intelligence to do something like this ingenious, just purely out of spite to his own son. That makes no sense, right? Or at least, I hope it's not. Mr. Falster, you once told me that Sid Sevitz, my creator, was an integral part of your life because he was your best friend, correct? I did, but why do you ask? Are friends integral parts of people's lives? Well, yes, they are. Friends are about as integral to someone as their own family. One cannot be be without either. That's what the sentence was. Thank you, Mr. Falser. Ah, that's when she tried to look for friends, and she found Ritona and Selphine. Why, Sara? Why did you steal from the mana mine? There was meant to be a vote 4 days from now on whether we would finally integrate you into our mana mine workforce. I remembered what you told me one evening some time ago, and I decided to follow through with your advice. Advice? I gave no such advice for theft. Why must I be summoned today of all days? I was having such a long and relaxing respite. Oh, you're here already, are you? Well, don't you know how to greet a director? Good afternoon, Director Crowcleys. You truly are a defective waste of the company's finances. I was informed that you committed theft, no less, at the mana mine today. Why do you even exist? You serve absolutely no purpose. Had I the power, I would press for your immediate dismantlement. I apologize. You are here in the room today, Director Crowcleys, in order to assist in addressing the matter of Sara's act of theft. I suggest you hold your peace until the other directors have gathered. I doubt many of the other directors will convene for this meeting. I might as well mention this now, but regardless of what you and the others want for Sara, the grand majority of the board are determined to see that automaton dismantled. That was to be our consensus at the next meeting, but I thought I'd be gracious enough to share the inevitable with you both. So we're actually catching up to real time now? Bam! Right up to it. Oh my god, haven't seen Ritona and Selphine for so long. Sara. I see now. I understand Sara's motivations now. But what I still don't understand is what Sara is. This entire mess of events have been truly eye-opening. It seems like you don't quite understand what Sara is either. That is correct. Nevertheless, for some intangible reason, I would rather not see Sara dismantled and disposed of. Her dismantlement is scheduled for tomorrow. Before you both came to me this evening, I was desperately trying to think of a way to stop this from happening. Is that even possible? If her death is decided through a majority vote on the board of directors, wouldn't your efforts be in vain? Yes, absolutely. However, if the CEO decides to push for Sara's conversion and integration into our workforce instead, a majority of the directors would also follow suit. In other words, Rudo Zevitz would have to go on a miraculous change of heart within the next day. Albus, if I may call you Albus, I'd like to ask a favor. A favor? I want to meet with Rudo Zevitz. Oh yeah, come on, Selphine. You read my mind. But I suppose you didn't need to read my mind to figure that out, correct? Correct. Albus also made an additional suggestion. He suggested that we perform the Mind Dive Mana Crafty on Sara. Oh wow, that could be interesting. That way, we will be able to ascertain exactly who and what she is. Cause what I'm trying to wonder now is, if they were to perform the Mana Crafty Mind Dive on Sara, could they actually bypass the encryption cortical part of her whatever that the other scientists of Laboratory 9 couldn't? Because that way they could access part of her supposedly memory or whatever you want to call it. Yeah, they would have access to that, so that could be interesting. It could give us the answer finally as to what Sara still is, because I'm pretty sure that's the question everyone has on their mind. But Selphine did not want to subject Sara to the mind dive solely for the sake of appeasing our curiosity. It'll be okay, Ritona. Meeting with Rughzenhaide will be enough. I felt Selphine conceal a thought from me then, before she severed the bridges and returned us all to reality. However, I failed to ascertain the context of that thought. Without casting a fog within my mind, and erasing desire to save Sara from imminent death, we made our way to Laboratory 9, where Albus had last seen Rudo. Chapter 7, The Measure of a Girl. Well, I'm gonna end the video here right as Chapter 7 starts. Oh god. At least we're finally getting closer to both sort of figuring out, hopefully, what Sara is, and actually, you know, taking action to saving her, because I'm pretty sure that even unless we would find like a horrible truth that would change Selphine's and Ritona's mind, I'm pretty sure they still want to save Sara, so yeah, that's probably still going to be the plan for now. So yeah, we're gonna continue that in the next video, so thank you very much for watching. Please like and subscribe for more, and I will see you in the very next video. Peace!